What is going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another Roster Bubble Series video. Hope you guys are well. Hit the like button if you haven't already, comment and subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or a video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Share this out, do all the good stuff. Got another Roster Bubble Series video for you guys today. We're going to talk about another undrafted free agent. But if you haven't been to these videos before, we take a player that's on the cusp of being cut. We talk about their background. We talk about their competition. Ways they could win a spot on the roster. Ways they could lose a spot on the roster. And a prediction at the end. Today we're going to talk about wide receiver, undrafted free agent, Ayir Asante. What is to know about him? Let's get into it. Ayir Asante, number 19. He is a rookie, 6'0", 178 pounds, 23 years old, out of the University of Wyoming. Now, before that, he did play at Holy Cross. So he is a 5-year college player. Let's get into some of the statistics. So last year for Wyoming, 21 catches, 6 touchdowns, 372 yards, 17.7 yards per catch. He also had a rushing touchdown. Going back to Holy Cross in 2022, we'll also go over 2021. 21 catches, 458 yards, 5 touchdowns, a total of 21.8 yards per catch. And then 2021, 43 catches, 529 yards, 4 touchdowns, 12.3 yards per catch. What are some positives? What are some negatives about Ayir Asante? I'm taking this off of Sports Illustrated and Big Blue View. He has deceptive speed. His stride is smooth and fluid. It creates difficulty for defensive backs to gauge how fast he is approaching. And he catches many of his pass targets flat-footed. In addition to running by defenders, many of his catches have been contested. He and the defensive back go up for the ball, but he is the one who comes down with it consistently. His ability to high point the ball is uncanny, making those 50-50 balls more like 70-30 when he is involved. Here's the bad. Although Asante is dynamic in the slot, he could still use some polish on his intermediate route running. He is not as crisp at breaking off of his routes, which allows defenders to stay attached to him on the intermediate routes. He must be able to explode from his routes to create more separation from the defender. He could get a little stronger, like many of the slot guys coming out of college. Adding more muscle mass is not necessary, but the strengths will make him a little more explosive off the ball and better equipped to take Siriano contact while navigating traffic. He has to be explosive enough to get by elite nickel corners while also handling the bigger, more physical linebackers and safeties. So, doing research on some of the other Roster Bubble Series guys, he's similar in ways to John Giles, which is a video we will be doing towards the end of our Roster Bubble Series, which is coming up very, very soon, by the way, because I think we have like 7 or 8 guys left to do. But what has he been doing in camp so far and all that sort of stuff? I've been there pretty much every day. He's been on the kick return team, he's been on the punt return team, and he's also been with the third team offense, rotating in with John Giles and a couple of the other back-end guys. He hasn't made too many plays. There was a play in one-on-ones where he beat Isaiah Simmons pretty good. I think Simmons not playing the corner position consistently kind of contributed to that. But the problem with Asante is, A, he hasn't made many plays. Blame that on DeVito or however you want to spew it. Number 2 is that he's had a couple of dropsies, not in the pass game, but in the special teams game. There's this drill that Michael Gobriel has been running with the punt returners to where they turn around and then there's a directional punt by Jamie Gillen, and then the punt returners turn around to face the ball. They have to find the ball, and he's dropped a few of those. So if he does that in the game and the Giants are still putting him at punt returner, he may be cut off the roster sooner than we think. And I don't think the NFL does it anymore to where, you have to lessen the roster by 5 guys or get it to 85 or to 90. I don't think it's like that anymore. I think it's just you cut your guys at the end of August, early September. But if that was the case where you had to release 5 guys, I think Ayir Asante would definitely be on that list. But competition: Gunnar Olszewski, Isaiah McKenzie, Isaiah Hodgins, Miles Boykin, Dennis Houston, Allen Robinson, Bryce Ford Wheaton, and John Giles. Olszewski and McKenzie, 2 special teams guys. Hodgins, not special teams. Bryce Ford Wheaton, Boykin, Houston. Those guys are special teams in the way of blockers, just role players on special teams. Giles also is a kick returner, but he hasn't done the greatest either. It's pretty much the same reputation between Asante and Giles. That's just the way I've been seeing it through camp. And to be fair, there's not been too much room when you look at the talent in this wide receiver room. There's not been too much room to, pierce your way through the roster. It's been tough. How can you win? Health is number one. I always say that. Number two, special teams usage. Gunner, personal protector, or punt returner. I think it still is bad, and it's going to leave a mark on his resume, at least with the Giants, that he's been dropping some punts in practice, because the Giants are still trying to figure out a consistent punt returner, a consistent kick returner. And again, for a guy that's fresh coming out of college, undrafted free agent, wasn't drafted, a guy coming from a smaller school beforehand, it's not great that he's been struggling and really hasn't gotten any offensive work with Tommy DeVito and hasn't gotten too many targets and stuff like that. So that's why he tries to take the one-on-ones a little bit more seriously. But also, there's also other ways, as I mentioned, how he could contribute on special teams, being a gunner, being a protector, those type of things, either on kick returns or punt returns. Because, again, that's another way you can make the roster. And if you're an elite special teamer, you can make the roster. You could even make the practice squad. You might make somebody else's roster. So that's one thing. Big plays in the preseason. The way I look at him and John Giles is, and again, we'll get to John Giles in another video, maybe Dennis Houston you can include as well, is I think they kind of have to be a Victor Cruz, Corey Washington type, where they have to try to break out and make plays. Not many people know about them. They're kind of, I don't want to say flunkies, but undrafted free agents, this, that, and the third, low-end wide receivers. They got to go up and match the talent and even go above and beyond and pretty much crush the talent of the three squads that they'll be facing from the Jets, the Texans, and the Lions. They got to show out. So those are ways he could make the roster, and also contested catch ability. Going up against smaller corners, going up against smaller defensive backs in general, and making those catches, coming down with it. Because the Giants could use taller receivers, with all due respect. But it's interesting that he's only 6'0". How can he lose? Health, not ascending in the depth chart. I don't think he's going to ascend in the depth chart as we go through training camp, but I could be wrong, my personal opinion. Lack of big plays. I think that would be big in the preseason because, again, I said this guy's going to be a little bit like Corey Washington. He's got to be in that realm. He's got to make some big plays, like being a lead receiver in a game or something like that, having a lot of catches. And I think that would hurt his stock if he doesn't do that, and also poor special teams play, whether it's a penalty. But I think the taint on his resume has already come on with some of the dropsies he's had in camp thus far, and if they put him at punt returner in the game and he fumbles, it's pretty much over for him. Overall, I have Asante getting cut. I think if he makes some big plays in the preseason, either on specials or more likely offense, I think the Giants could definitely keep him and stash him on the practice squad, but I don't think he's going to make the roster. I think the Giants are too stacked up right now with wide receiver depth. Like, comment, subscribe to all the good stuff. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or video drops. Appreciate you all coming back. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool.